Now, obviously, Mahabaleshwar, you would have faced a lot of situations where the government would come to you and say that, okay, this is a particular scheme that I need to implement, this is a particular IT project that I need to implement. And obviously, you would see that there are multiple options. There is always an option wherein you take a more rigorous approach, an enterprise approach which possibly gives benefit over a period of time. It will take much longer. It calls for a larger budget over a longer period of time. And you would also have a choice wherein you could be looking at a quick fix solution. And obviously this is a dilemma that you would have gone through many times. What is the approach that you take, and how do you decide which approach to take for what kind of situation?
I just wanted to make a quick distinction. This is just to ensure that there is some clarity. There is one is the enterprise approach, other one is the use of enterprise application. Now, look at the enterprise approach and the enterprise application. I guess the challenges are different. I just give you a small anecdote to highlight what is the issue with enterprise approach itself. Like Mr. SRO pointed out very nicely before, government for the citizen is a disorganization, it's fragmented entity. So we said in Canada they are trying to get away with the yellow pages and put it as services. Under the National e-Governance program also, one of the key thought process is, look, it's very difficult to integrate government. Let us start from the citizen. So we will ensure that we deliver services. For government, as long as the services are delivered, it doesn't matter how it is backside. With that in mind, one of the key things which happened with the citizen service centers, like e-Seva. I just narrate this incident to just tell you how even such concepts sometimes you face a funny situation. I don't name the state. In this state, the state capital, for example, had established 50 citizen service centers. They were very popular. Now, there was a committee which was advising the state government, with all external experts. They suggested that it is very popular, so you should expand these service centers to 100 in the city. So it was accepted by the government, government in the sense, whichever entity was responsible for that. Then there was another committee headed by another high-profile parliamentarian advising the city on how the city should improve the service to the citizens. Now what they did, they said you should establish 100 service centers to provide service of the municipal corporation to the citizens. There was one, we thought that services should at least integrate the citizens. Here was a unique case where, the two committees, they said one offering already services, it was established by the government. There was another committee which was recommended that establishing new service centers just to offer the service of the municipal corporation itself. Fortunately, I had access to somebody in the chief minister's office. I just went and told him jokingly. I said, all this time you were thinking that only the government departments work in cross-purpose. Here it is, the committees also working in cross-purpose. One committee said you expand this, other committee said you build new ones, for the municipal corporation. I just highlighted this to indicate what is the challenge in the enterprise approach. That Mr. Rao said, I guess it's a challenge of imagination. It's very difficult to bring in many stakeholders. There's a lot of imagination required, both in terms of organizing the thought, organizing people, and ensuring, nobody has a bad intention. The committee which wanted the new centers to be set up, they wanted more services. They said, let the municipal corporation establish. And this committee said, you expand. Actually, both of them have to study together. And possibly they will get each other in the long run, because they were public-private partners. So, the enterprise approach per se is very well required, but I think the challenge there is imagination. So, I will not address the enterprise approach. I will only look at enterprise applications. Okay, so that is the small distinction I would like to. Now, when it comes to enterprise applications, obviously, using an enterprise application, the hypothesis is that it will help you to build an enterprise approach. But many times what happens is, the agency which hires you to do that will not be entitled to do an enterprise approach. So that will not happen at all, unless that is given at a different level in the government. That's very difficult at the imagination level. Now, in terms of enterprise applications, like you rightly pointed out, I said there are three main things in the space. One is the fitment, there is the procurement, and the implementation. Whereas the fitment, many times the challenge is like in computer science, in practical computer science, there's something called the halting program. You cannot write another program to find out which program will not halt. Typically, it's treated like that. How I'm sure that it will work. Now, it cannot be treated like unless I implement, I will know whether it will work or not. So there has to be some expertise to judge whether a particular application, an enterprise application, can be made to work in a particular situation. That requires two things. One is great amount of expertise in this specific area. Other one is a good knowledge of the solution system. Now, really see many places the biggest challenge is to meeting this. Unfortunately, in spite of people like us working for many government projects, I think the expertise which is available outside the government on specific problems with the government faces is actually limited. So, taking that treatment is very critical. The second I said is the procurement. The procurement is more of procedural. Both, like you said, the quick fix approach versus big bang approach. How much time will it take me to build that up? Obviously, one of the key things which is good in a sense, wherever we went, there's always a hurry. Moment you are called in, unfortunately, whenever we are gone in that, they are in the respective department or organization in a hurry to implement something. Now, that hurry many times pushes you to look for a very quick fix, small pilot, but it's not always so. If you put the case properly, many times you have been able to convince people that look, don't look at this, it may take slightly longer time, but it is worth attempting that. So it is again, the ability to put it up across properly, ensuring that right issues are thought of and highlighting how those issues are handled. So that the short-term compulsions will not be constrained for the long-term objective. Now, other elements in the procurement, of course, is the concern about investment, concern about locking, which is a typical government issue. Possibly all of us need to address it in multiple ways, as well as the how these things will run over a longer period. Then the third element, of course, is implementation. Sometimes I blame the consultants like us for this fiasco because you go there and make a big presentation, it's a big, difficult one, challenging one, you need leadership, somebody has to drive that. Case because in government you cannot expect continuity. If you say insist that in the private sector there is one champion who will run it for a whole period, and you expect that to happen in government, it cannot. So you need to build different mechanism whereby I'll be able to ensure that this application or whatever we have chosen, we are able to live longer than the period transfer for an official who is running that. So that is the critical challenge. In that, the skill of the organization to work around and to be very important. So, if you ask me, on the enterprise approach, it is the challenge of imagination. Enterprise applications, the challenge of treatment, procurement, and implementation.
Your message to the private players is we need to bring in experts who can ensure that.
Here again, I would like to highlight again, it's not a catch, it looks like a catch-22 situation. Unless I do the job, I don't build expertise, right? And unless I have expertise, I am not able to do the job. But in this case, I firmly believe that the onus is on the private sector. See, unlike the initial days, we could have ensured that ecosystem builds around work. You cannot do that in government because you cannot use government as a guinea pig because the risk of failure, the implication of that much bigger, and possibly there has to be some investment in building this expertise so that the issue of treatment and the implementation can be overcome. Procurement, I think, people like us, who work for the government have to, more imaginative in advising them how to overcome those issues of lobbying, issues of pricing, issues of, first mover taking advantage of this situation.
I mean, basically, I think the key message that you have given is to the private sector that better get serious, build expertise, so that you can convince the customer. And with that, I'll move to Mr. Amod. Mr. Amod, your state is one state which has not been particularly, talked about in this particular area. And why I would want you to highlight what have been the achievements, I would also want you to possibly answer one of the questions that I asked Mr. Siddharth in terms of implementing a good solution. What are the major barriers? Fiscal, cultural, political, readiness.
UP, as you all know, is the biggest state in the country. Had it been a country on its own, it would be 6th largest country in the world. And our districts, many of them, I think there will be about 50 to 100 countries in the world which will be having population less than of our districts. So that is what UP is. It has problems of heavy population, but then we have also asset in the form of diversity. And when we talk of e-governance and pilots, even if you look at all the districts of UP, you will find even at the state headquarters, many a times it happens that there is some collector doing some pilots somewhere. And sometimes it has happened that people from the government of India have come, seen the pilot in the district, and nobody knows about that pilot in the district. So this kind of a situation is there. We, as compared to when Mr. Judge was giving his presentation, he was mentioning about there is no barrier, question, political barrier. I would agree with him in a limited way that I don't think politicians have so far not developed so much of an understanding or whatever you will say. No politician ever opposes any systemic improvement. Politicians, the fight between politicians and bureaucrats is mostly on the individual issue. It is, but never whenever a bureaucrat wants to improve the system, whether using e-governance or without e-governance, a politician never opposes. But there is a difference between South and North in this. There may be very proactive politicians in the South, while in the North you may find very neutral. For example, when I was discussing, currently I am handling the revenue department, and in that there is a program called National Land Records Modernization Program by the Government of India. And in that we have to modernize the land administration system in our state, and in all the states. So when I was discussing, I came over to Andhra because they had done a pilot in Nizamabad district, rather everything with a pilot called Bhakti. When I met the officer concerned, Mr. Agarwal, he told me, he gave me, I sat with him for 3 hours, he gave me the whole history, how it happened and everything. In that he told me that he, along with several senior officers, sat with the Chief Minister for 3 hours in 2004, and it was discussed, and then they decided that this would be done, and this will be the political problem, these will be the social problems and all that. We cannot imagine any Chief Minister giving us at this kind of a time in any North Indian state. Impossible. So that's where I think the difference lies between North and South in that sense. Mr. Rad,
let me tell you that I don't know, but I wanted to tell you that the chief ministers are very hands-on. I mean, whatever I have told you just now, I think if you had the chief minister making this presentation, possibly he would have spoken 90% of the same things. I mean, that's the level of understanding that these people have. I mean, even in South India, I think we are blessed with people like them, but I mean, the fact remains that they're very hands-on and not just about the neutrality. I mean, yes, this lack of understanding, your point is well taken. I mean, there are individual politicians who have not understood what an eGov application can do in issues where favors have to be given. I mean, they have still not understood that. But to an extent, all the politicians are looking at transparent forms of government, and their only battle is, as far as bureaucrats are concerned or the citizens are concerned, other people are concerned, is primarily where issues of granting favors and giving a specific dispensation is concerned. But nobody would abhor systemic improvement, and whether being done through eGov or being done with mGov or without any electronic or mobile bank system.
Now I come towards what we have achieved in UP so far. So basically, because as I made the point earlier that politicians never oppose it. One big strength which I think UP has is the number of IS officers. Our address strength of IS officers is 537. Which is huge.
The added strength, they were not calling
No,
it strength.
why? I'll tell you. Because the topic of the discussion is enterprise approach to e-governance. Now, even if 2% of them or 3% of them are enterprising, and there is no politician to oppose them, still we can do it. That is why I was mentioning such a large number that if you take even 3%, it will make 15, I think 15 IS officers who are of enterprising nature and who are good, committed, dedicated, without any opposition from politicians. They can achieve.
You would help our private sector to identify the
Now I'll come to what we have been able to do so far. Land records, even in many so-called progressive states, is still, if you take a copy of the extract of the land records, you get handed. But if we way back in 2005, we made rules to ban manual extract of land records. All our land records are 100% computerized, and that's a big task which was given by a bureaucrat and successfully completed within a period of 6 months. Now today, if you go anywhere in UP, all like we copied the Karnataka model and we have computerized mutation and the hologram extract of the giving it through private kiosk is still underway, but we will be achieving that also. Then one very good thing also about UP is that you can very easily copy the successful, whatever mistakes they make, you can learn from them. Whatever successes they achieve, you can very easily copy. And I think that is what we have been trying to do with comparatively very less efforts. We are trying to make up that political, basically leapfrogging. Japanese model, whatever, only like. So this is how UP makes up for the loss of political listening, and the effort required is much less. Similarly, if you go to the registration part of it, because I am currently in revenue department, so maybe I am giving more examples. Maharashtra Sarita model, I think they were finding us as far as computerization land registration was concerned. We copied them, and 1/3 of our registration offices are computerized to the same extent as Maharashtra. The rest 2/3, I think there was some amount of greed that the money will come from NLRMP, so we were waiting. So now next we'll be doing that. Scholarship computerization is again, I think that there we have not copied, I think that is where we have pioneered, is sending all the scholarship or the pension amounts, social sector pensions, directly to the bank accounts of the beneficiaries right from the state. And that was one area where we have done a wonderful work as far as scholarship is concerned and pension. Apart from all other previous things, whether it was treasury computerization, I think we were only did about 9-10 years back. That was one area where we were trying to support, but later on, modernization of that system has been delayed. I agree with that. And in this land records, I think one area which I was discussing is if you go to any, you choose any average Indian, randomly pick an average Indian and ask him, what do you understand by government? What according to you is government? He will simply say, I don't know any government or anything. He will say, he only knows testing and and unfortunately, the least e-governance has happened in these two areas. Still, we are following the same system that anybody can sell land to anybody, whether he owns it or not, and it will be registered. So those kind of systems. Thanas, even after so much of computerization, still there is no place in the country where you can lodge an FIR on it. While technologically it is very easily possible. So in UP, I would, in policing or in home, we are not progressing to that extent, but in the land field, under NLRMP, we are making a good progress. We made very good progress in e-district also. In e-district, we had 6 districts in UP which were created, which were chosen as e-districts, and we rolled out about 32 services, basically 10 departments and 32 And whatever number of CSCs have come up in those 6 districts, we are trying to deliver those sub-services through those CSCs. So these are the basically areas where we are trying to do effective. One thing about the topic enterprise governance is very difficult on the negative note because one, the very nature of the government is not very good. And so to expect, but as far as e-governance is concerned, I think it will have to be more enterprising than the normal. But one area where we basically somebody was saying once, I heard in a conference on planning commission member, India is best graveyard of pilots. We are doing, and I think this happens, this is more nowadays in eGov. But pilots, yes, we are okay. We are running short of time, but I feel in those pilots only we can pick up and whatever successes we have achieved. The e-Seva today is a big success, but it has been achieved out of the pilot which he must have tried to do in YZ. Similarly, whatever e-governance solutions are coming, they are getting figured into those pilots. One suggestion I had given to EIT long back, 4-5 years back, that was because enterprising nature of a human being also reduces as he grows. With the age, I think it's inversely proportional to the age. So if we give more chance to the lower age people or officers to enterprise, and if we can make some kind of an innovation fund at the Government of India level where anybody who is willing to innovate submits a proposal and gets something out of that innovation fund. But unfortunately it has not come up so far. No, innovation fund at the Government of India level can be easily created. It may not be possible for us to create it as Thank you, I think here.
I would possibly now hand over to the two younger guys. Can we start with Rajat? Yeah.